Welcome to the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, where you get multifamily investing made real. Learn from top players in the real estate investment world as they share their secrets with you and discover proven strategies on apartment investing that actually work. To learn more about Wheelbarrow Profits, visit jakeandgino.com, your one-stop shop for everything multifamily. Now to your hosts, Jake and Gino.
Hello, everybody. This is Josh Rusin, filling in for Jake Stenziano, host of the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast. Here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, the chef, the father of six, the best-selling author, the G-Daddy, Gino Barbaro. Gino, how's it going?
I'm doing great, Josh. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for allowing me to be on the podcast today.
Well, I've got somebody who's really special today. I wish Jake was on this call because Jake really, I would say, makes it happen, just like our guest today. I credit him with everything that I am all about today. I've learned so much from his program, from his trainings. I just want to introduce everybody to him because, like I said, I'd be in Florida. I'd be in New York right now. I'd be in 8 inches of snow right now. Instead, I'm down here in sunny Florida. I'm enjoying my life. It's not about paying the bills for me anymore. It's about really creating wealth, creating a lifestyle for other people. So, Bruce Schneider, what can I say about him? He's a master certified coach, modern day philosopher, and renowned speaker. He's the founder of IPEC, which I credit, like I said, all of my success. And he's author of The Energy Leadership and Relax, You're Already Perfect. Listen, in 1978, after miraculously surviving a devastating car accident, Bruce embarked on a lifelong journey to understand the purpose of his survival and the nature of reality. Through a process he calls uncovery, he not only found his answers, but also created a powerful way for others to find theirs. Bruce's groundbreaking theory of consciousness levels led him to create the transformational core energy process, as well as IPEC's proprietary Energy Leadership Index assessment. Without further ado, Bruce, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Talk about that accident. Talk about how that just changed your life and how that led to you, I guess, starting IPEC.
It was interesting because when I read later on about near-death experiences, it was all about loud sounds and going down a tunnel and seeing some bright lights and some instant transformation. For me, it was just an experience that was hard to describe. I was laying in the hospital bed after a horrific car accident, a head-on collision on a highway, and I was pronounced dead, but I had no recollection of anything other than when I came back to consciousness before I drifted back out. And I felt an amazing sense of joy, peace, and comfort, as I was also experiencing tremendous physical pain. And I knew that that was not something that I had experienced before. It was either one or the other, but to have both at the same time, something different was happening. And to make a long story short, yes, I was a miracle survivor. Obviously, I'm here, but it took 20 years to make sense of that experience and to go into another dimension, so to speak, and get some answers. And through meditation and lucid dreaming and a lot of other techniques, I figured out more of what that experience really was. And I got the answers to the questions that I was seeking from that point, such as, why did I survive? The other person died. Why did that happen? What was the purpose of my life? And I figured that being that it was a miracle that I survived, I wanted to make it a worthwhile life. And so it took 20 years to write the first book, Relax, You're Already Perfect, another 10 to write Energy Leadership, the one that you like so much. And then the new one just came out. I believe it's coming out within a day or two.
Oh,
Uncovering the Life of Your Dreams.
Congratulations. How old were you when you started IPEC? How did you get the vision to start IPEC?
It was 18 years ago, and I had been I guess I was technically a licensed psychotherapist, although I never really did traditional psychotherapy. I was taught all the procedures, but I did something just a little bit different, and later on learned that it was more like coaching, more solution focused than what I had been taught. So I had written the first book, Relax, You're Already Perfect, and I was out doing some public speaking, and somebody asked me if I wanted to be their coach. And I said, okay, I heard about it. It's interesting. I think I do a lot of that. Tell me more about it. And they said, well, we think you're dynamic. We think that you can really help us, and we're willing to pay you. A lot of money. I said, okay, as a good coach, I asked, what exactly is a lot of money? And it was, and now we're talking, 1997, okay, $400,000 to be a executive coach for this organization. So I said, okay, you got my interest.
How fast can I ever sign that check, right?
Tell me more about it. About the organization, and they were out there coaching everyone, real estate people. They were just everyone that needed help, that needed a little push, that needed to figure out what it is that's really driving them to reach success. And I was all in until they said there's only one stipulation. You have to give up everything that you've been doing. So nothing about your book. I don't want your procedures. I don't want your coaching techniques. I don't want your workshops that you're doing. We want you to do our methodology. It made sense. So I had a dilemma at that point. And I didn't have a lot of money then, and I had to make a decision. What was the purpose of my life? Was the purpose of my life to make a lot of money? Well, that was the ticket. Was the purpose to live a purposeful life and share the message and gifts that I was given in that near-death experience? And it was an easy decision. However, being an entrepreneur, I said, well, if they're willing to pay me that kind of money, there must be a lot of money in it. So I did a little research and found out that, yeah, people need coaches. The most successful people in the world had coaches, even back then. So I decided to form my own coaching group. I looked around for some coaches and found out how they were trained, and I didn't really like the methodology. Looked into some coaching schools. At the time, there were only a few, and found none that really lived up to what I had as my level of expectation. So I was forced to build a coaching school out of necessity, and then took a life of its own and never looked back. So I never expected to have one.
When the problem presents itself, entrepreneurs look for the opportunity, right? They don't look for the problem. They dive into it. There's always an opportunity. You peel that onion, correct?
Well, obviously, if there's a problem, there's a solution. So if you focus on the problem, that's what you're going to see. Entrepreneurs are relentless in getting excited about the opportunity. And so when there is a challenge, a true entrepreneur, not everybody has this spirit, will get a rush. Like, there's going to be an answer. There's going to be an opportunity, So, and there's so many stories about people that have done that and seen challenges and made some amazing things from it. And I think that, with you guys or what you do, it's more not about a global scale, but each individual person has their own little blocks.
Yes.
And they get into, and I used to have a real estate license, and I used to invest in real estate, believe it or not. And I used to be real excited about the opportunity and the proposition. It was very lucrative if you stuck to it and you were really dedicated, but you needed a lot of drive. So the people that get into real estate, I believe, are entrepreneurial minded. They love conversations. They love to help people. Not a lot of them have the entrepreneurial skills, that innate drive that's needed for success. So there's two parts. Obviously, the skills. That's just really experience, and there's many ways to learn sales skills. But the internal part is what's missing. The part that has you wake up in the morning and say, I am driven, I am so excited, there's nothing that's going to stop me. This is my calling, this is my purpose, this is my way of making a difference in the world. Everybody has a way to do it. None are any better than others. They're only different. So if you feel a purpose and a passion and a desire, it doesn't matter whether you're selling real estate, whether you're changing tires, whether you work at the supermarket, whether you're, in the Supreme Court. You do your job the best way that you can, because it's you that's expressing yourself through your work. And we tell people at IPEC, many employees that work there absolutely love it, because we say, if you're looking for a job, this isn't the place. We don't want people that want a job.
You're going to calling.
We want people that have a calling, that feel like they want to make a difference and figure that this is a place to do it. So, and I don't think that's any different than what you do. It's not about who you are and not necessarily what you do. It's how you do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you incorporate who you are into what you do, as you well know?
Yes. Let me ask you real quick, if you could define what life coaching is to the listeners, because I always get that hokey response. They look at me like I'm crazy. And I say, no, guys, this is the 80%. You have to work on yourself first. Life coaching helps you work on yourself. So could you just define it to the listeners for me?
Sure. I think the easiest way to define it is as a former therapist. Therapist helps people to get from a non-functional state to a functional state. So an adequate level of living, satisfactory level of living. And life coaching goes the next step, takes it from a satisfactory state, so it's not dealing with all the therapeutic issues, to an extraordinary state, in a high functioning state. You know, the people that make fun of it are the people that have no idea what it is. They just simply do not know. Oh, life coaching? I don't need a life coach. Yeah, well, I don't want to work with someone who needs a life coach. I want to work with someone who wants a life coach.
Mm-hmm.
And those people are the most successful in the world. You will not find any Fortune 500 company that doesn't have coaches in there. You will not find any successful entrepreneur that has not had some sort of coaching throughout their, sometime throughout their life, if not continually throughout their life and career. So for those people that say, I'll stay away from that, it's hokey. Well, the other people are going to be more successful. It's as simple as that.
I agree. I want to tell the listeners a quick little story about me on Friday. I was sitting in confession with the priest on Friday, and we're going back and bantering back and forth. And it was just an amazing experience because he was really empowered. He was really locked into me, really listening to me, really engaged, right? He was there in the moment. So he said, what do you do? I said, well, I'm a business coach. I'm a life coach. So he said, life coach, tell me about it. I said, I basically give people a space. I let them tell me about their problems. I don't give them their answers because their answers are within them. I'm ready to pull them out. I take them away from their fear. I just listen to them. I empower them. And he's like, wow, you get paid to do that? And I said, yeah. He goes, I do that for free. I said, well, you know what? That's just part of being a life coach and part of actually helping people out and getting them to the next level. So I thought it was a really cool analogy on how to describe what one is, right?
It is, except there's a big challenge in the industry is that everybody thinks they're a life coach just because they help people. Mm-hmm. There's a very specific skill set and a tremendous amount of training, hundreds of hours and years of experience to be a great life coach. So just because you help someone, that doesn't mean you're a life coach. Mm-hmm. Helping people is a side effect. You need to be a top professional to be able to do it. And a lot of people think, yeah, I do it. I help people. I motivate them. I inspire them. They don't have the training to do it. So they do it to some extent, but they're not coaches. Mm-hmm. So yes, I help people, but I'm not a coach.
So let's dive in. Before we get into the book, let's dive into some of those skills you talk about, because I love the empowering questions. I love the 8 SMART goals. I love this energetic self-perception chart. Who, what, how? I mean, what would you specifically think that a life coach in your toolbox? What do you think one of a couple of the most powerful tools that we use as life coaches?
Well, the truth is, I don't believe the most powerful tools are the ones that come from the book and come from the training. It's the ones that come from your heart. It's the ability to be able to share yourself fearlessly, to be able to express yourself clearly, to be able to inspire, to motivate, to actually shift energy. And while we do give you skills to do that, every skill in the coaching training program is about shifting energy to move from what we call catabolic or destructive to anabolic and positive, building and constructive. It's really the person that is the skill itself. It's the ability to, like I said before, take the gift that you have, take the who that you are, the difference that you uniquely make in the world, and combine that with what you're doing and how you do it. That makes it unique. So some of my favorites, I love the pain gain, which is, people look at that and say, oh, that's, I got 2 choices. That's real simple. No, that's the thing about these tools. I've created them to be very simplistic when you look at them so people can understand them, but very intricate and complicated so that the practitioner really needs to dive into it to be able to implement them properly. So, for example, the pain gain, you have 4 quadrants, and basically it's, do I make a change? Do I stay? What's getting in the way? But when a coach that's skilled works with you, you can uncover so much about yourself and understand, why do you want to even consider this to begin with? What are the blocks that are preventing you? Where did those blocks come from? What are you going to do about them? What are the positives to not making a change? Very few people actually even consider that. And so once the client is educated and understands exactly where they are, then the coach's job, as you said before, is to get out of the way. Make sure that they're clear. Make sure they have all the information. Make sure they're educated. Make sure they are ready, willing, and able to make a conscious, in-the-moment decision. Once they do, the coach honors whatever decision the client makes. And that's the biggest difference between coaching and any other profession. Every other profession I know, because I've been most of them, every other profession has an agenda, and the practitioners will tell you what they think is best. In coaching, all we want you to do is to be 100% clear. That is more challenging than anything that I've ever done. Because for someone to be clear, it means you have to get rid of all the baggage, all the blocks, internal, external. There's skills and things that you need to learn. Well, you need a plan to be able to do that, and the right plan to save you time and money. You need to break through the doubts, the worries, all the things that we call gremlins, the self-doubts and fears. Those are things that hold back everyone. Everyone, no one's an exception, except those that work on it and be able to break through it, at least control it to some degree to get to a level of success that they want.
That's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, wow. Those are some empowering tools that you share to allow your students to uncover what's holding them back and get where they need to be.
That's awesome. You recently wrote the book, Uncovering the Life of Your Dreams. What led you to write that book?
Unlike the first two books, in which I was similar to a lot of authors in that we write books, and you have as well, because you feel like there's something important to be said that you want the public to read, or a segment of it, because you believe it'll make a difference in their lives. And for the first two, that was the case. You know, when I wrote the first book, Relax, You're Already Perfect, it was about a message to not beat yourself up so much. And then the second book, Energy Leadership, Transforming Your Workplace and Your Life from the Core, that's kind of a handbook of what we do, and that has transformed millions and millions of lives, directly and indirectly. And that was the message that, hey, here's a lot of information you weren't even aware existed. It's time to open your eyes and see a little more of the reality. And so, as you're familiar with the energetic self-perception chart, I'm not going to go into that because it's too long. Basically, everything that we've taught in the training program, in my first book and the second book, really focuses on the first bunch of levels. The last level, the one that always asks me about, the seventh level. And this is the seventh level of consciousness, the seventh level of awareness, where you transcend most of the human limitations and you recognize the truth of who you are. That's what this book is about. And I did not write this book to get it into people's hands. I wrote this book simply because something told me that I had to. I didn't know why. I still don't know why. It doesn't matter. I felt like if I didn't write this book, that something would happen to me. It was so compelling, and it wasn't very pleasurable, actually. It was a calling, so to speak, a painful one, that if I didn't listen, I was going to pay the consequences. So as it turned out, I think this is the most enjoyable thing that I've ever read. And I've read it many, many, many times as if I was a new person that had never seen it before. And I enjoy it over and over and learn so many lessons from it. It is probably, maybe, I don't know, maybe a little ahead of its time. It'll probably be one of the most powerful books that anyone will ever read.
Wow. Bruce just talked about the energetic self-perception chart. I'm going to have a copy of it in the show notes. People want to download it, ask me. I've done videos on it. To me, it's the most powerful thing that I've done, is because you're living in a conscious life. Every action you take has some type of energy, whether it's catabolic, like Bruce said, with your level 1 going all the way up to level 7. And I can't wait to finish reading this book. I mean, what do you think the main messages are in the book? And what do you think these messages are needed, especially today, what's going on with our environment today?
Yeah, I think the main message is that most people have reached a time in their life that, and this is getting younger and younger, that they're asking, what's the point? Is this all there is? And I think that a lot of people kind of convince themselves that their life works. And if they really looked, they'll know that there's something missing. And that something missing, I believe, is the pain of ignoring the truth, the pain of not recognizing your true self. And I think that we all have a calling, something that's disturbing within us that we kind of crush, we try to block it. And that is that we're more than who we really are. But yet, as powerful as that sounds, most people are afraid of finding out, or they don't want to do the work, or they don't want to give up what they currently have to be able to realize who they truly are. And I think that's the biggest block, is people's fear to see the truth. Because if they realized that a lot of the things that they believed were not truth, what would they have? And that's the ego trying to control themselves. So I think that probably one of the main messages is that when you break through, when you can break through freedom into freedom, and you let go, you continually uncover all that you are not. The truth of who you are is revealed.
Wow. I've got a lot of students that come to me in their late 30s, early 40s, worrying about that, talking about that. Is that all there is in this world? And it's funny, it took me to get into my late 30s. I was comfortable, but I wasn't uncomfortable enough to really get out of that way. And it takes a mature person to figure that out and to say, listen, I've got to break through. My question is, the two types of motivation, have you ever used this on anybody, moving away from pain or moving towards pleasure? Because I had to move away from pain first to really figure out that I really didn't like this. I was living a boring life. I wanted to help people out. Do you ever use that technique where, listen, let's move away from this pain first. And then now I'm fortunate enough that I can move towards pleasure with being on this podcast with you, coaching people, sending out messages. I mean, do you ever use that with any of your students? Or anything?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very important to be able to break through the blocks, because if you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, you're never going to get there. So obviously, if you can't break through the limitations of where you are right now, you will never reach where you want to go. However, that said, I will also say there's tremendous value in embracing the pain.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
Not necessarily seeking the pleasure. Because a lot of us hedonists, are the pleasure seekers, we avoid the lessons and the learning that can come from the struggles. And we're so easy to jump into what feels good temporarily, and that can leave us with a big void down the road. So when I get sick, which I do, or I'm down, or not feeling very well emotionally, physically, psychologically, whatever it is, consistently, all my friends call and say, what can we do to help you? And my answer is always the same. And this has been going on for 40, 50 years. You'd think they've learned. Why? Why do you think I need fixing? He said, well, you're in pain. I said, yes. And you'll probably recognize this. Yes, I'm in pain, but I'm not suffering. And so pain is pain. It's inevitable. It's there. Experience it, learn from it, and then you will find the lessons to help you enjoy the pleasure more. So I think that's really important. Too many people are willing to run away from things that they don't want, thinking they're going to get the things they want, and all you're doing is preventing what you really want, because that's there. You've got to deal with it.
That just clicked in my mind, because I'm thinking back 5 and 6 years ago, I embraced the pain without even knowing about it. Sitting in my parking lot, throwing salt, whether it's snowing, working 12-hour days, working during Christmas Eve. And I didn't run away from that. I embraced it, and it made me even angrier. And I think it helped me get over that gremlin block, that big energy block, and say to myself, it's okay. It hurts now, but I know where I want to be. I want to be down in Florida. I want to be coaching. I want to be doing so. I totally 100% agree with you that we're conditioned that, oh, you feel sorry, let's take a little aspirin and, it'll make you feel better temporarily. But that's just masking. That's actually just a symptom. That's not going deep down inside. So I love that point you just made.
Right. So I have possibly a good message for you today. People that are very resilient, people that are entrepreneurial in nature, they always find a way to capitalize on challenges. So what you described to me was called the Slingshot Effect. You were upset, you were shoveling snow or throwing down salt, and you were saying, that's it. I am going to use this experience and catapult me to success, and I'm going to remember this pain. So that's capitalizing on the pain. What I'm talking about is something a little bit different now. What I'm talking about is standing in the cold, perhaps barefoot in your driveway in the snow, and your feet are freezing, and you say, I am in pain. I am so grateful to be alive and experience this. So it's all about the experience. And too many people are running away from experiences to try to find better experiences. True success, to me anyway, is to experience the moment, to being in the now, in whatever life throws at you. And so while it is wonderful and incredibly admirable to make the best of situations and to have that propel you to success and and I admire people who are able to do that, there's some real value in just sitting back and saying, this is pain. And when you can, and that's one of the lessons in the book, when you can truly embrace pain, not accept it, tolerate it, or overcome it, when you can embrace it as just another experience, that's when you have a chance to live freedom. Because now, what are you afraid of?
We have a little bit of homework to do today, huh?
Absolutely.
We're actually going to do that, because it's something that's a block for me. That's got to be hard for me, because even now that I live a purposeful life, every time something goes wrong, you always say to yourself, why did this happen? Instead of saying, why did it happen? Let's see what we can learn from this, and let's enjoy this experience like any other. Wow.
Well, the first step is what is considered wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If it didn't go the way you expected, it just means you had an expectation and an attachment to a specific outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those attachments and expectations all come from the ego. And that's why we judge things as right and wrong, good and bad. So the first step is to say, what is? What really is? Not what do you make of it? And just look. And sometimes when you just make the clarification of what actually is to what is my interpretation of what is, all of a sudden you realize that they're not the same.
You like that?
Wow.
Well, in the book, you mentioned the importance of being curious, open-minded, and optimistic, saying those lead to opportunity. Just explain this, as my audience is all about capitalizing on any opportunity in their life.
Sure. In order to get to energy level that will help you create success, you need to resonate with a higher frequency. So curiosity, optimism, positive outlook, I mean, these are all things that resonate at level 5 and 6 energy, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you just become open-minded, if nothing else, well, think about what that really means. Open-mindedness, well, I'm going to ask you guys, what is open-mindedness to you?
Well, I mean, to me, it's actually seeing the opportunity in the problem, not judging anything, looking at it on its face value and saying, I want to tackle this. You know, how are we going to solve this? That's me being open-minded.
Absolutely.
And I can add to that, right? It's not projecting your own expectations or preconceived notions on the opportunity, but evaluating the opportunity as it is.
Okay. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. You're true entrepreneurs. So let me take it a little bit deeper and give you another opportunity to look at open-mindedness as a lack of ego. So when we say open-minded, what it means is that our entire definition of who we are, how we present ourselves today, is what's called ego. Ego is simply the construction, the assemblance of every experience that you've ever had directly and indirectly. All these memories create your persona, your sense of self. Your ego is your projected sense of self today. An ego is closed-minded because it lives in its own world and it sees the world the way it's expecting to see it, the way it was trained to see it. So open-minded simply means transcending the ego to see, as you guys say, opportunities that exist that perhaps you would not have seen if you were stuck in the problem. But it also means open-mindedness to say, my world is an illusion based on the way I've experienced it and the way I create it to be. And so what does that mean? That means I don't have to be stuck with any belief system that doesn't work for me. I don't have to be stuck with any limitations, internal or external. I don't have to be stuck with the stories and everything that people told me about what I cannot do. And all these high producers that are out there that have all this experience and skill and talent and connections. Well, I can't live up to that because I don't have this, I don't have that. This is all a product of the ego telling you what you cannot do. So open-mindedness is a tabula rasa, blank slate that says, okay, here I am, now what? With an incredible sense of curiosity. And then when you add in optimism, now you got a formula for success.
That's awesome, because we find a lot of experts in the real estate industry, especially the multifamily space. Newbies start out, they'll say, you can't do no money down deals. Well, who says you can't do it? Because you've been an expert for 30 years and you can't step outside the box. So that drives me nuts. So anybody on the show listening, take that advice, because you could do, if you can do it, you can do it. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. So another story, I mean, Josh has been here all week, came out from San Diego, flew out. He's been around my family all week. Anybody who has children, tap into that, because I've got 6 kids. I've got a 3-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old, and an 18-year-old. The little kids, and he'll see it, the curiosity that they show, the open-mindedness that they show, the love that they show. Tap into that, because I think there's some power into that. And tell me, how do you think you feel being around kids and seeing that curiosity and that open-mindedness?
Yeah, I would almost say it's like a growth mindset, right? They haven't been inundated with failures to tell themselves that they can't, and those limiting beliefs. And so they're willing to try anything. And like Gino said, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're absolutely right.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I love what you said there, because I used to say that we scare the hell into kids, and it's when you look at kids and with their open-eyed fascination of the world and wonder, they're really unlimited potential until we train them and limit them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, be careful.
It's funny because my 6-year-old is driving him nuts this week. It's like Lego. She won't let him. What are we playing this? What are we playing that? She's so curious. It has so much energy, and she doesn't understand the fact that Dad's got to work. I mean, I'm still out of the office, and she doesn't get that. And just that energy is just engaging. It's awesome. In the book, you talk about uncovery. Can you just talk a little bit more about uncovery?
Uncovery is the stripping away of everything that you're not to reveal the truth of what you are. Like the statue of David, famous story of Michelangelo, who chipped away at everything from this block that was not David to reveal the truth underneath. And we have been, as we just said, inundated with limiting beliefs, inundated with ideas about who we are, the way the world is, people around us, beliefs about money, beliefs about friendship, beliefs about relationships, and it forms our image. It's a driving force to find the truth. Everybody wants to know, whether they're aware of it or not, consciously. Who am I and why am I here? What is the truth about my existence, my purpose in life?
And how does that relate to fear?
Fear is the thing that will prevent you from seeking the truth, because it will keep you in that state of doubt. It'll keep you comfortably numb. So fear is the number one challenge in becoming aware, if not enlightened. So I believe that if people would take a little, just one small look at why they're afraid, they will begin the process of uncovery, in that they will start to strip away all the ridiculous fears that they have that have no reality, in their life. And they'll start to strip away all the limitations, all the blocks, and the truth. When you look in the mirror and you believe that's who you are, you start to strip away that image. Then you can begin to reveal what the truth is. For example, I want you guys to think about something. I want you to imagine that you're looking in the mirror right now and you see your reflection back. You're pretty familiar with it. So 10 years ago, imagine looking in that same mirror, perhaps, and you look different, right? Now imagine you're a little kid and you looked in the mirror and you look different. So to really expand your mind and your consciousness, the question I'd like you to consider is, who was looking? So the appearance has changed throughout the years, but the you, the true essence that was there all along, never changed. It was always the same person, being, entity that was observing. This is the observer that is within each one of us. So when you start to look past even the things that your physical senses tell you are absolute truth, and just say, well, maybe they're true, but they might not necessarily be truth, then you're on your way to uncovering the life of your dreams.
Wow. That's awesome. What can you tell the audience about how to overcome that fear? Because that's what I get all the time when I'm talking to people in business. Well, I don't know if I should take this risk. I'm afraid. How can you speak to that?
Oh, there's so many ideas. Probably the simplest one is the worst case scenario syndrome. I constantly do that and have people understand what they're really afraid of, what's going to happen. Now, a lot of times, most people are afraid of being seen as a failure or, something emotional. And that's easier to deal with because then they realize they're not going to die. Other times people really need income. So, let's say I get somebody that's working for me and they're really hungry, and I ask them, what's really driving you? And they say, I want to be successful. I want to be rich. And, I find out that they're afraid to take the action because they think they're either going to be successful and they won't sustain it, or they're going to fail. Either way, it's a fear of success.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we look deep within and I find out that they really need the money and that's what's driving them, realize that's not good enough. That's going to create fear because they believe that they're going to die. They never explored it. They're going to die if they don't have money. So I'll take a simpler exploration. What would happen if you weren't successful here? What would happen if this all went wrong? Where would you be? And usually in the beginning, I say, what will happen if you don't make money? Well, I'll lose my house. I'll be out in the street. And by the end of the conversation, it sounds something like this. So basically what you told me is that you have a lot of friends, you have a lot of resources. You will never be homeless. Never be homeless. Truth?
Mm-hmm.
Truth. Okay. So just going into that exploration of what they're really afraid of, the core of what they're afraid of, helps alleviate the fear. Because then they say, oh, well, you know what? So the worst thing is I moved back with my mother for a few months. I've heard people say they'd rather be out on the street, but let that go. Well, seriously, you have a choice. Mother, street, what is it going to be? Well, I'd rather be with my mother. Great. Now we know that's your worst case scenario. If you could live with the worst case scenario, then you got an unlimited upside. If you're stuck on what could happen and you have this distorted view of what is going to go wrong and what it's going to mean to you, what people are going to think about you, where you're going to end up, if that's there, it's overwhelmingly powerful. And you will never take the first step, or you sabotage yourself along the way. So explore the real fear. What's really behind it? And that should help.
That's awesome. I love that. Because we have a lot of students who are on the cusp of becoming financially free. If they leave their job, they still have passive income coming in, but not enough. And that's the question I get a lot. When did you leave? I left when I thought it was appropriate for me to leave. So I've got a big family. I had to feed them, like you said. And I just took a leap of faith. I still wasn't making enough. I said, I'm moving down here no matter what. I'm selling my house. And I broke through that fear because I said to myself, what's the worst thing that can happen? I can move back in with my mom too. I can move into a rental property. So I don't have a big house. I go into a 3-bedroom. Everyone shares beds. I'd rather do that, take that chance of failing than just being comfortable and living the rest of my life and doing a menial job and not enjoying it. So I guess I was doing that technique also without even knowing about it, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. We talk a lot about goals, Jake and I. It's easy for two guys who are really motivated to write down goals and to use goals. Can you speak a little bit about goal setting and how you get people to actually use goals? And because you can write something down on a piece of paper and it doesn't mean anything to you, right? So how do you incorporate goals in your life?
I use goals as a motivation to get up in the morning and to take action, but I don't attach myself to the goal. I don't have an expectation of achieving the goal. What I do is simply create a goal, something that I want, and then I experience the moment. And so I don't constantly say what if and when this happens, and I'm just experiencing the moment, doing what I do day to day, minute to minute. And then when I'm in this space of being present, there's a lot of energy there, I usually achieve my goals. So basically the best way to get what you want is to detach from wanting it. And the best way to do that is to be present in the moment. However, you really do want to set goals. Otherwise, I wasn't kidding. You might not get out of bed. If there's nothing, there's no goal, even if it's as simple as I want to not be hungry. If you don't have that goal, you're not going to go eat. So if you want to achieve a goal, the best way is to detach from the outcome, but participate 100% fully engaged in the process. That way, every minute or every day or every month, whenever you want to review it, you can say, is that still my best goal? And be very flexible. Some people are so attached to goals.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, they never live in the moment because it's always something out there.
Yes.
And then they hold on to something that they should have modified 100 times. So a goal is something that you should be constantly modifying and changing, whether it's yearly, monthly. Somebody gave me some good advice for New Year's resolutions. Most people make New Year's resolutions and look a year later to see how they did, if they even got that far. Well, these people redid them every month. So my New Year's resolution in February looked different than the one in January, and March looks different. So as you continually recreate your goals, almost you can do it daily if you want. What's appropriate today? What makes sense today?
Yes.
Write it down, go for it, be present in it, but not attached to it. Because attachment to goals creates fear, loss, worry, and usually it eliminates the chance of truly reaching the goal.
That's awesome. I've got to speak on this for 2 minutes because this is why I seeked out and I went to IPEC, because I quote unquote thought I was successful. I didn't feel this. So success is a feeling, I think. Achievement is, okay, I did something. So I was doing stuff in my life, but I didn't feel successful. I was achieving things. I wasn't able to split the two. I wanted to have that feeling of success because I climbed the mountain, get to the mountain, and I didn't feel good. Now I'm thinking like what we're doing as the journey, climbing up that mountain, enjoying that climb, enjoying that feeling of success. And when I achieve what I want to achieve, that's great. I achieved it, but I want to enjoy the process more. And I think that's one of the reasons that drew me to IPEC, because I'm like, darn, I'm making more money. I'm being more successful, quote unquote, but I don't have that feeling. That feeling was lacking in my life. And I think you just explained it perfectly. So anybody who's got it, shut the recording off, go back and listen to what he said and let it really sink in and listen to that weekly. And what I've been doing is I do a weekly coach sheet where I break out my goals. I put my successes on the right-hand side because, champion your successes, because nowadays in our society, we're not supposed to say, hey, I closed the deal. Hey, I read a book. Hey, I was successful. Share your successes with others. Feel empowered about them and enjoy them with others and share them with others so you'll empower them. I think that's really important. And like I said, that was so powerful for me, that difference between success and achievement. So IPEC does a wonderful job about that.
Sure. I mean, if you want to take it, give another example, we work with a lot of athletes and, they always focus on winning. It's real simple. Mm-hmm. As soon as you tell athletes that the best way to win is to let go of winning, they say, huh? The best way to achieve what they want is to let go of the idea that winning is success. Success is in what you can actually control in the moment. So I use the example of you're at the plate and you time the pitch perfectly and you hit a screaming line drive into left field exactly where you want it. But left fielder saw you turn a little bit before you swung and made a diving catch. Were you successful? Your answer is going to determine your reality. Because if you say, well, I wasn't successful because it was caught, obviously. Well, okay, could you control that? Or did you do exactly what you said you were going to do? Did you have the exact amount of energy that you needed to get it done? Were you successful? So that's two schools of thought. I'm not going to tell you which one is right. You have to decide for yourself. But if you're literally in the hands of the left fielder, then your life is not your own, and you're not in the present, and you will not be successful. So the more you focus in the moment on success, the more you focus in the moment as that being success, the more energy you have. So I don't have to worry about whether he's going to catch it. The more energy you have in the moment, and the more likely the chances of that ball dropping in or even going over the fence.
Wow, Bruce. So if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is if we can focus on the actions that are going to lead to success rather than the outcomes and detach to those, because those are in our control. It's not if we're going to be successful at that point, it's when.
I think change your definition of success to be able to do what you have control over and accept that.
And the funny thing is,
do that, it's moment by moment by moment.
And the funny thing is, next time you get up to plate, if you have that feeling of success, you're going to do better at the plate because you thought you did a great time the last time. But if you go up to plate and you feel crappy, it's just like the analogy when I tell these investors, if you're feeling great, are you more likely to pick up the phone and call a broker and take a positive action? Or are you not going to do that? If you're feeling low and you have that catabolic energy, you're not picking up the phone. You're not taking that positive action. So just be careful how you're feeling and the way you go throughout the day. So I love that. That is really powerful.
Yeah, and you brought up something that's really cool too, in that you have learned from each experience in the moment. So in that case, I said the left fielder picked up that you turned a little bit, and so he took a running start and made a diving catch. Well, just because you were successful in that moment and did everything you said you were going to do, it doesn't mean you can't still grow. Because if you didn't get the result, you're missing something. So obviously you gave it away. So now you need to incorporate new skills. You need to practice. You need to work hard at that. And then the next time let go and give it all you got with what you have.
That's awesome. You've built an amazing company. I'm going to put the book up right now, Energy Leadership. I think everybody needs to get this book first. I need to get Bruce's book that he's writing right now next. Start out with this book. Created an amazing brand. And how have you built teams? How have you built your company to actually, grow? Thousands. How many students have gone through the program? It's been an amazing success.
Between 10 and 15,000. We can't seem to agree on the numbers.
I'll go with the 15. I'll give you the 15,000 because.
Yeah. How I built it was simply figuring out what I was good at and finding other people to do everything else. And that was a lot. So I found great people that could do a lot of things better than me and hired them instantly and did what I did best. And I think too many entrepreneurs try to do everything and forget that entrepreneur doesn't mean solopreneur. When you work with teams, when you work with people and you capitalize on everybody's strengths and abilities, then you can get a lot done. If you think you have to do it all yourself, there's going to be inevitably 1 out of 10, maybe 9 out of 10 things that you don't do that well. And you're going to cost yourself. So the best way that I built my teams, and specifically IPEC, is to find experts in whatever it is that they do and not try to do everything. In fact, we want to find experts with amazing energy and attitudes. So people that really resonate with high level of energy. And if you can get that and they have the right skill set, you're going to be successful.
That's awesome. And it's funny, letting go of the ego, right? Because if you're an entrepreneur, you want to control everything. It's part of maybe your gremlin, play that big energy block where you think you need to do everything and touch your hands on everything. And that's just something that I totally 100% agree with you on that one. My last question before we get to the short answers is, what's your best tip or, life coaching advice for the listeners?
Self-awareness, self-acceptance. Those two are probably the best. When you are aware of why you do what you do, why your preferences are the way they are, why you see the world the way you do. When you have more self-awareness, then you have more ability to see past the image in the mirror. But the most important one is self-acceptance. And I honestly don't know people that can really break through their self-judgments without some sort of help. Mm-hmm. So get a coach and work on accepting yourself, others, past, your current life experiences. Acceptance is what keys in the book, Uncovering the Life of Your Dreams, is what we call a portal. Self-awareness is one, self-acceptance is another, a portal to enlightenment. And it works as well for any goal that you have, being able to accept who you are, everything that you are, unconditional acceptance. It's magic.
I love that. I mean, that's what I think as parents we need to do with our children. I always tell my children and I give them the confidence that they're perfect where they are. Even if I get mad at them, I'm not getting mad at you. I'm getting mad at what you did. There's a big difference. So, love yourself. I'm always pumping them up. I do not criticize them and tell them they're bad at something. I can correct them and all, but that's so important to give that self-awareness and that self-love. And I just love you for who you are. You're my little blondie. You're my other one. You're my tough one, but I still love you guys for that, for all you are, that unconditional love. That's awesome. Thanks for saying that, because it just brings back memories. I'm like, okay, I'm on the right path. I'm doing okay as a parent. You know what I'm saying? So that's great. Thank you.
Bruce, I got a few questions for you. What is one habit that you do daily that has led to your success?
Taking a deep breath. Sometimes we're in such a rush to just go to the next thing. And you really can focus in the moment if you just take a nice deep breath, or 2 or 3. I've been doing that since I can remember, but since 18 years old. Whether it's a deep meditation for an hour or as simple as one slow deep breath. Slow down a bit.
Wow. I like that.
Yeah, it sounds like that makes you more aware, present, so you can experience the now rather than living in the future, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
What has been one of your biggest mistakes?
Never made one.
I was going to say, that's not the question to ask him, because there are no mistakes, right?
Never made one. How could I make a mistake?
Uh-huh.
I could in every given moment with everything that came to the table. The left fielder caught the ball. I did everything I could possibly do. It wasn't a mistake. Mistake is only when you judge an event after it occurs. So yeah, I learned that I need to not give away the turn, but that's a learning. How can I make a mistake? I didn't know that then. So we always do the best we can in every single given moment. There's no possible way to make a mistake except in judgment after the fact.
And I try to tell that to real estate investors. They buy a property, they look at the property a year from after they bought it. I'm like, you didn't make a mistake a year ago. These were the facts that you had. The property was cash flowing this much. So now you look back and you go, well, now you can make the judgment. Well, if you knew that a year ago, then you would have had a different, you wouldn't have bought the property, or you'd bid a little bit less. So I look, if I do make that mistake, let's learn from that. What did we do wrong with that? And let's go forward. Empower, use that as a learning tool to say, this is not what I'm going to do next time. Instead, most people go into the energy block of assumption. They assume they made a mistake a year ago, and that's it. That huge energy block will hold you back. Just like I always tell people the same thing. If you're getting divorced, the next relationship you have, you assumed you had a bad relationship that you can't do another one. So, use it, whatever happens in that moment, the experience, and just go forward with that. So that's great. I love that.
Yeah, that mindset of there are no mistakes, only learning lessons allows you to improve and get better, right? Rather than
people confuse those. I want to make sure there's a distinction here. There are not mistakes. There's only opportunities to learn. That's a different theory. So what I'm saying is they're not mistakes because you're only able to do what you can do with what you have in the moment.
Yes.
What you do with that experience, that's the separate theory. And they're both good.
Gotcha.
They're both good. I just want to make sure people
Thanks
don't
for clarifying
confuse the two, because the understanding that there are no mistakes doesn't mean because you can learn from your mistakes.
Yes.
Doesn't make sense, right?
Yes.
Makes sense. Bruce, I know a lot of our listeners here are always looking to improve themselves and grow and read. I think it'd be very valuable to hear from you. What are some books you'd recommend to our listeners?
I'm not a big reader. I know that there's somebody in my company, and Luke Iorio.
Yes.
I think he reads a book a day. Some people are so educated and they learn externally. I learn internally. I learn intrinsically from self-discovery, from just tapping into whatever you might call it. I've been doing that for 40 years. And so I have never really studied. The books that I like to read are entertaining. That's why I wrote the books the way I did, in that, energy leadership is a story. It's a real story of a bunch of clients that are assembled into one main character. So it's a fun, enjoyable read. Well, this is a fantasy. A guy that, Uncovering the Life of Your Dreams, is a guy that learns about lucid dreaming, meaning he becomes aware that he's dreaming. And he goes up and has extraordinary experiences and learns amazing life lessons. So I find books that are entertaining, fun, with a message are the ones that I enjoy. But specifically, Uncovering the Life of Your Dreams, Energy Leadership.
Bruce, it's funny. If I had that answer, I had to look internally. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, so I've got to read like Luke. So I've got to get it externally to be able to suck it in internally. So
we all have gifts. If you're able to do that, I can't do that. So if you're able to do it, you can focus and concentrate on that. Fantastic.
That's great.
Bruce, so you provided us with a lot of value here today, and I know our listeners are going to want more. Where can people get a hold of you?
You can email me, bruce@ipeccoaching.com. That's probably the easiest way. I do have a webpage, Bruce D. Schneider Professional page on Facebook. And unfortunately, I can't get any more friends on my personal Facebook page. And they have a limit there. So I wish I could tell all these great people that come into the training program. I get 30 to 40 requests a day on a personal page, but it's not.
Wow.
I can't take anybody else because they give you a limit of 5,000. So I wait till one or two people drop out, and I just randomly pick some people. But Bruce D. Schneider Facebook page is available to everyone.
What projects are you excited about right now, other than the book? Anything else going on in the company or in the school?
Yeah, we are really getting involved in a movement, a consciousness movement. And it's based on the website oneideaaway.com. So oneideaaway.com. One idea away is one of the lines from the new book, in that you're really only one idea away from a new reality. It's not about having a thought or a belief. It's just the impetus. What starts a new reality, a new belief system, is that you've got to have a new idea. So oneideaway.com is a community that people can learn to be aware, to accept themselves, to understand more about who they are and why they're here. And with a group of like-minded people, we're going to be doing some amazingly fun things. We're going to be doing retreats, workshops all around the country. So if you're interested in becoming part of this, you don't have to be a coach, or certainly you don't have to be an IPEC graduate. Go to oneideaway.com and sign up.
I just want to say personally, thanks for taking the time to spend with us today. I've learned a lot. I've been a life coach for the last couple of years. I think your school is amazing, transformational. Came at the right time in my life. That's what I needed. And I hope people listening to this message, it hits them hard. I hope they go back and listen to this message 2 and 3 times and they take the next step to reach out to you, at least, the very least, to read your books, because I think your books are amazing. For someone who doesn't read, you write some pretty amazing books. And like I said, I just want to thank you for taking the time and sharing your story with us today.
We trust that you enjoy the Wheelbarrow Profits podcast. Visit jakeandgino.com, your one-stop shop for everything multifamily. See you next time when Jake and Gino share more of their investing secrets with you.
Bye.
Take care.